Xiao Yun and Li Wei, a newlywed couple, had just moved into a secluded, seemingly peaceful house nestled on the edge of a sleepy town in southern China. The house, standing at the foot of mist-covered hills, had been in Li Wei's family for generations. It once belonged to his grandmother, a woman known for her aloof nature and strange rituals. The couple, eager for a fresh start away from the bustling city, couldn't resist the allure of the house, despite the unsettling rumors that surrounded it. At first, everything seemed perfect. The air was fresh, the landscape serene, and the house, though old, had a certain charm. But from the very first night, a strange coldness settled over the house. The warmth of the morning sun couldn't dispel the icy chill that clung to the walls. Xiao Yun brushed it off, assuming it was the house's age. But the unease grew. The floorboards creaked, the shadows seemed to move, and the air grew thick with a faint, unsettling smell of incense, yet neither of them had lit any. It was when Li Wei found an old, dusty box in the attic that the true horror began. Inside the box were yellowed scrolls and ancient trinkets, items his grandmother had clearly cherished. But among the relics was something far more disturbing. A black and white photograph of a woman, her eyes hollow and her lips twisted in a cruel smile. At the bottom of the photo, written in faded ink, was a single name, Yu. As Li Wei held the photograph, a cold gust of wind blew through the attic, sending the papers scattering. He felt a sudden, sharp pain in his chest, as if someone, had been watching him. A fleeting shadow darted across the room, but when he turned, there was nothing. He quickly grabbed the box and ran down, but the feeling of being watched never left him. That night, Xiao Yun began hearing whispers, low, guttural voices murmuring in the walls. At first, she thought it was the house settling. But soon the whispers became words. "Xiao Yun, you're mine, you can't escape." The voice was female, cold and vicious. She tried to ignore it, thinking it was just her imagination playing tricks, but when she woke in the dead of night, she saw her reflection in the mirror flicker, her face distorted into a grotesque, ghoulish version of herself. The next morning, she found something horrifying: dark, long hair clinging to the corners of her pillow, even though she had never had hair that long. A sense of dread began to gnaw at her, consuming her thoughts. She couldn't shake the feeling that something ancient and vengeful was lurking just beyond the edge of her consciousness, waiting. Li Wei, too, felt the change in the air. His once loving wife had become withdrawn, pale, and jittery. Her eyes were constantly bloodshot, her face gaunt. One night, she confessed that she had seen a woman, the same woman from the photograph, standing in their room, her eyes hollow and lifeless, her fingers outstretched as if to claim her soul. Xiao Yun had tried to run, but the woman's icy fingers had grabbed her, freezing her in place. Only when she screamed did the figure vanish into the walls. Desperate, Li Wei visited the local temple, hoping to find some answers. The old priest listened to his tale with growing horror and revealed the truth. The house had been built upon cursed land, and it was the resting place of a vengeful spirit, the newlywed. This spirit, a woman named Yu, had once been a young bride, betrayed by her husband. Consumed by heartbreak, she had taken her own life in that very house. But her grief had twisted her into something monstrous. She became the newlywed, a soulless entity that preyed upon the living, stealing their essence and trapping them in her endless sorrow. The only way to banish the newlywed was to perform a ritual, a sacrifice. The newlywed always sought the soul of the person who had the most hope and life in them, and it was clear that Xiao Yun had been chosen. Without hesitation, the priest gave Li Wei an old scroll and a ceremonial dagger, warning him that the spirit's hold would only grow stronger as the days passed. When Li Wei returned, the house had transformed. The air was thick with a suffocating, oppressive energy. The walls seemed to pulse, and the whispers grew louder, more frantic, now unmistakably chanting her name, Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun. The floorboards creaked as though something was crawling beneath them, and the shadows stretched unnaturally long, wrapping around their legs like the fingers of unseen hands. Frantic, Li Wei rushed to the attic where Xiao had been found the night before. The air in the attic was colder than ever. And then he saw her. Xiao stood motionless in the center of the room, her back to him. Her hair, long and black, cascaded around her face like a curtain of shadows, obscuring her features. As he called her name, she slowly turned, her eyes empty, dark voids. Her lips curled into a slow, unsettling smile, one not her own. "You can't save her," a voice whispered from the shadows. The figure of Yu appeared behind Xiao, her body distorted and almost translucent. Her long fingers reached out, grasping Xiaoyun's form. Xiaoyun's body jerked as though controlled by some unseen force. In a panic, Li Wei raised the dagger, but before he could strike, the house shook violently. The walls cracked and groaned as if the house itself were alive, fighting back. Xiaoyun screamed, her voice warping, becoming a twisted, chilling echo that reverberated through every corner of the house. She writhed as Yu's spirit consumed her, her form bending and contorting until it was no longer her at all. Li Wei, unable to stop it, watched in horror as his beloved wife was swallowed by the darkness, her soul torn away, leaving nothing but an empty shell. And then the new Gui turned to him. The thing that had once been Xiaoyun smiled once more, her mouth stretching unnaturally wide as her hollow eyes bore into his very soul. The last thing Li Wei heard before the darkness claimed him was the same whisper, now louder than ever, "You're mine now, forever." The house fell silent. Years later, the house still stands, decaying slowly into the earth. Those who wander too close speak of strange happenings, shadows flickering in the windows, the faint sound of a woman's voice calling out for help. And on certain nights, if you listen closely enough, you might hear the whisper of Xiaoyun's name, lost in the hollow winds, never to be found. I really hope you like my video and subscribe to my channel so I may continue to create entertaining content for you all. Thank you.